If you've ever used workflow within SAP Enable Now to manage your development activities, you know that it's not necessarily always the easiest thing to use. And if it's being used for people that aren't usually in SAP Enable Now, for example, a project lead who's just giving that final approval before something's published, it can be downright confusing. Here's my quick reference I developed for showing a casual SAP Enable Now user how to locate and approve content in SAP Enable Now. It's very confusing. Thankfully, all of that's changed with Anton Mavrin's SEN Workflow Approver browser extension. Using this, people can review and approve content without having to even go into the manager interface. So I'm going to show you in this video how that works. First of all, you need to make sure that you've got this browser extension installed. I'm going to show you where it is in Chrome. It's also on the Edge store as well, I think. But from here, if I go to Manage Extensions for my browser, and then go to the Chrome Web Store in this case, and then search for SEN Workflow Approver, there's one match, which is this. This is what you want to install. I already have it installed here. One thing I'll point out while we're here though, is make sure that you add the parameter disable CSRF protection to the supported features in your server settings. That will allow the browser extension to communicate with Manager. So let's look at how that works. So say I've got a simulation that I want to be approved by my content approver. Previously, using the standard workflow, I could get an email sent to them automatically, a notification that it's got a link in it. That link effectively opens the tasks view in Manager, and from there they need to figure out how to review and approve stuff. So what I'm going to do though is I'm just going to display that in the browser, and I'm going to do that via the library link here, but in reality you would probably send to the approver the start link, which you can find either here in Manager or you can go and get it from Producer. But send them that link, and when they open that link, that content object is then displayed for their review. And they can run through the different modes if it's a simulation, go through the book pages if it's a course, and so on. Now, as far as the extension goes, when you've installed the extension, you will have an additional button on the toolbar here, assuming you've pinned it to your toolbar. This is the SEN Workflow Approver extension. So when I click on that, what happens is it goes and gets my information, my permissions, and information about this particular object. And here it says the current status of this object is ready for review, and now I can select the new status for it right here. So I've got a choice of all of the active statuses that are available. Now this particular example is not using a workflow process, but this plugin still works for changing the status of a content object, even if you're not using a formal workflow process. So from here, I can come to this and I can say that I have reviewed it and it's now been published. Enter a comment, submit status, and that will update that status in SAP Enable Now. That's now been done. So that's my approval there. So that's as far as ones without a full workflow process go. Now, if I go back to that, and I can do this from any object that's assigned to me, it will show me again what I can do for this current object. And again, notice that I've now published it. I can select a new status in here if I need to. But what's incredibly useful here is this My Tasks button at the top. If I click on that, that will show me all of the content objects currently assigned to me as a user. This is using single sign-on, so it knows who I am and what's assigned to me. And it says that I have 3 things assigned to me. This releasing a credit block is the one we just looked at. And then I've got another called creating sales order and one displaying a sales order. Now you'll notice that the first 2 here have a green check mark next to them. This says that, hey, it's assigned to you, but you've already processed it, which I have. We just saw me doing this releasing a credit block one. And if I hover the cursor over that, it will say reviewed on, and then it gives me the date that I did that. The creating sales order one I've also looked at previously, so that's on there as well. And it's this last one that I want to look at now. So all I need to do from my list of tasks is click on an object in that task list, and it will take me straight to that object and display it on the screen. Again, I don't need to go find a separate link for it or go into Manager or anything else. Now, the reason why I'm looking at this one is this one does have a workflow process assigned to it. So if I now go back to my extension and click on that, it will go and get the information for this particular object again. You can see here I've now got a workflow specification. This says this has a workflow process assigned to it, the simulation development workflow process. The current status is ready for review, and these are effectively the workflow transitions that I can activate for this particular object. So I can either approve it or reject it. They're the transitions, they're my choices. It is tied to my permissions and whether I am allowed to do those things or not. So it's always checking everything exactly as it would if you went through Manager. So from here I can say, yes, I approve this. And click Submit Status. And again, that has now been done. If I go and find that content object displaying a sales order in Manager, and go to the Tasks tab, I can see that it has been reviewed by me on today. Here's my comments that I put into there. Looks good, please publish. It's been published, it's been approved, and it's all been handled exactly as if I had gone into Manager myself and done that, but I don't need to deal with the Manager interface. It's all done via that browser extension. So very, very useful extension. If you want to use workflow, absolutely have this. If you looked at workflow before and you thought, well, it's a bit too clunky on the back end and our management doesn't like having to go into Manager and look at all of this particular interface that you're seeing on the screen now, then go and revisit it, think about it again, and see if this browser extension is going to work for you. Honestly, I find it a complete game changer, whereas before I've recommended not using the workflow process with people who aren't usually in Manager or in Producer because it's too confusing. This opens it up completely, makes it very, very simple to use, and I am going back and suggesting to all of my clients that they do use this browser extension and now do use the full SAP Enable Now workflow processes, which honestly is one of the best features of the product. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing if you did like that and you want to see similar things in future.